Gmar Chatima Tova to everybody. Techelet has been thinking about how we're going to cope this year, special year of Yom Kippur with Corona. It's unprecedented territory. Even during the Second World War, people were going to the shuls, to the Batei Knesset in some kind of way. For us, many of us, we won't be able to go inside the shul. Some of us can daven outside shul. But for many of us, we'll actually not be going to shul, perhaps for the first time since we could walk in our whole lives. We won't be going to shul on Yom Kippur. It's something that we need to think about carefully, something that we need to understand and get our heads around and see how best we can deal with this difficult situation. So I have with me my trusted colleagues and friends, Rav Ido and Rav Eli. And we're going to have a little discussion about Yom Kippur in Corona times. And I'll kick off by saying that over the years, many years, I have received questions from various people over the years, how to fast, people who are not well. Should I fast? How should I fast? Shiurim, not shiurim? Should I eat? Should I not eat? And many of the times, I've had to tell people that, for you, it's not a mitzvah to fast because you have a certain condition, whatever it is. Diabetes was my particular interest. So a lot of diabetics used to ask me questions. And I used to have to say to them, your avodah, your service is not to fast. Your service is to eat on Yom Kippur and to keep yourself well because you're not in a category that are able to fast. And in some ways, that's where I feel that we are here in Corona times. For many of us, our avodah, we're used to having our avodah to go to shul in the morning, to be there all day. If you're lucky to get a break for half an hour or an hour in the middle of the day, but basically to be in shul from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night or wherever it is that you've finished in wherever you live, and to be in shul the whole day. This year, for many of us, our avodah is not to be in shul. And that is what we've got to do, because we have to stay safe. Because pikuach nefesh doche et hakol. The enjoyment to actually save a life, to be healthy, overrides everything else. And this time, in Corona time, the important thing is for us to stay healthy. And the message that I want to say is, don't feel guilty about not being in shul. Use it as an opportunity. How many times over the years have we been in shul and we suddenly don't quite know where we're up to in the service and we can't find the place and we've missed something, or we listen to a song that we're familiar with and by the time we've found the place, it's over. Let's use this opportunity, if we're davening at home, to do it slowly, to think about the words, read the words in English or whatever language it is that you're most comfortable with, understand them, enjoy them, let them sink in. There's no rush. You've got all day to say whatever you want to say and do your avodah. Your avodah is to be at home this year and to get those words, get those tefillot, get those feelings of Yom Kippur at home instead of in shul.
I want to add two more things to your beautiful words. One is a quote from, I want to quote Rabbi Menachem, the Admor Mikotsk, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Mikotsk. Rabbi Mikotsk said something very beautiful. He said, we have two psukim in the Torah describing the attitude of the Torah towards idol worship. And one pasuk is Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel, and the other pasuk Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. And he asked, why do we need these two psukim? Why do we need these two isurim, Lo ta'aseh lecha pesel and Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai? So he said, Rabbi from Kotsk, he said that one is the Torah forbids us to make an idol, to worship idols. And these are the statues that in the ancient world they used to worship. But he said there is another prohibition of the Torah, and is do not make an idol from the mitzvot themselves. And it's very important. He said that even the mitzvot themselves can become an idol when we worship the mitzvah instead of worshiping God. The mitzvah is the way we worship God. And you need to always to remember that God is above the mitzvah, is above the Torah. And that's why there is nothing that we worship 100% and we say, this is my love. No, you worship God. And that's why if God tells you that in Yom Kippur this year, you have to eat, you should eat. This is the way you worship God. If God is telling you that today is very dangerous to pray inside shuls, you have to go out, and that's the way you worship God. Otherwise, if you stuck to the mitzvah, to the norm itself, without thinking what does God want from me, you worship an idol that you created to yourself. It's not the Jewish God. That's what Rabbi Menachem Mendel Mikotzket said, and it's very important for us to remember. Secondly, I would like to say something about the tshuva. We always talk about the tshuva of Yom Kippur. So what is the tshuva? How can we feel the tshuva today? So as you said, Rabbi Lieberman, so beautifully, that maybe this is the time we can have tshuva in our religious world, not just to make tshuva of our when we sin or when we go in bad ways and now we need to fix our ways. No, maybe we got used to this routine of praying in shul every Yom Kippur, to listen to the same chazan, every Yom Kippur to read the same achzor tefillah, every Yom Kippur to sing the same songs. And now we have the opportunity to make tshuva, to renew our religious life, spiritual world, to try to do it in different way at home. Maybe it's the first time we will pray with our wives together at home. Maybe it's the first time we will pray with our kids, with all family. And now we will get a new aspect of the tefillah, of the service, if we read it, if we say it at home. And so maybe this is the tshuva itself of this Yom Kippur, to renew our services, to renew the tefillah in our world. It's a great opportunity for us. So try to find the positive aspect, trying to find the light in this darkness that the world is in today.
So Rabbi Do, that was wonderful. And Rabbi Johnny, that was also excellent. I'll just expand a little bit on that. First of all, I grew up Yom Kippur with my, shouldn't be embarrassed by this, but I think it's okay. I'll do the al-chetz in shul. My mother, being a diabetic, a type 1, lives she had to eat on Yom Kippur. And every single year, without missing one, she always said, maybe I can fast this year. Maybe I can. And my uncle, who also is a Rav and also is a doctor and endocrinologist like Johnny, every year told her, don't be crazy. You're not looking at it the right way. Your mitzvah is to eat and to stay alive. That's number one. That's the most important. But in perspective, because you still go to shul, you can still daven, you can still have a Yom Kippur, but it's your Yom Kippur. And it's the same thing this year. We have a very similar now. We all talk about it being dark, but if we go back 70, 80 years, it was a lot darker than it is now. So first of all, perspective is very important. Yes, maybe in the Holocaust, people went to shul, but I promise you, it was under fear. That wasn't like today. Baruch Hashem, we have good doctors. We know that if we stay away, we social distance, that we could, we won't get corona. So do that. That's focusing. You're with family. You have community. You have beautiful shiurim on Zoom. You have technology. So first of all, let's be happy and appreciative of what we have. It's very, very important. Because honestly, you can't do real tshuva if you're not realistic and you're not pragmatic. If you're not really focused on what is and what isn't. And what is that we have the ability to stay safe. We know what we're dealing with to a point. And our mitzvah this year is to social distance, to daven outside, to do it shorter, which is okay also. We have to focus on that. Number two is, and I thought Rabbi Do said it very nicely, is focusing on things that we haven't focused. And a recommendation of mine is, I've been, since I'm actually bar mitzvah, I haven't missed 1 year on this. Every chag, I do all of the mishnayos of that chag. I usually do it in shul because I'm bored, to be honest. But this year, maybe I could do it actually properly. So Rosh Hashanah, I do Masechet Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippur, I do Masechet Yoma. It's usually in the art school sitter, whoever has an art school sitter. If not, it's easy to get the Mishnayos. If anyone needs it before Yom Kippur, I'm sure I could figure out how to get it to you. Maybe it's a good time to take the time to go through Mishnayos, go through Yonah. Take your time with it. Look at it. Review it. It's a time to open up your mind to things that you haven't opened your mind to before. And also the tefillah. Focus on something you haven't focused on before. This is the time. Use it to your benefit. And like Rabbi Lieberman said, which is very important, and it's such a Jewish trait, we all have to work on it. Don't feel guilty. There's nothing to feel guilty about. Different isn't worse or better. It's just different. And this is a different Yom Kippur. Doesn't mean it's less holy. Doesn't mean it's less special. And we here at Techelet, we're going to try to make it as special as we can for you. But also for yourselves. Look inside. Do what makes sense for you. And put a smile on your face. Yes, it's Yom Kippur. Yes, it's serious. But also it's important to be happy, to reflect. The whole point is to do tshuva, to come to be better, to better yourself, to be happier. So put a smile on your face. We're all in it together. And you should have an easy and meaningful fast and a good year. And Shana Tova.
Thank you, Eli. We were finished because we said we'd only do 2 minutes, but I can't help but picking up on 2 points that you said there to emphasize them really. One is the story about your mother and eating. I have to tell you this very, very quick story that happened many years ago when I was a doctor in Manchester. I had a message from my rabbi. I need you to come with me to see Mrs. S. Mrs. S was 98 years old. She looked about 198 years old. She was a tiny little wizened woman who was, she looked like she was already dead. And we went to the house. She says, you have to come with me because I have to tell her that she has to eat on Yom Kippur. And she won't listen to me. This is the Rav speaking. She won't listen to me, but she might listen to you. So we go in and he gives her the whole drosha on how this is her avoda to eat on Yom Kippur. She must eat. And here I brought Dr. Lieberman and he's going to tell you the same thing. And I went through the whole thing. You've got to eat. You've got to, and I told her how to do it, everything. She said, yes, of course, I'll do whatever the rabbi says. And anyway, so we went back after Yom Kippur to see how she was. We went on the next day together. And guess what? She fasted. Right? And she lived another few years. But that wasn't her avoda. So, you can't help it. Jews can't help it. They have to do it. So it's hard. It's very hard to stay away. I can't tell you how many people in our community have told me, this is the first time I'm not going to shul for Yom Kippur that I can ever remember. It's hard for them. So all the words that you've said in words of encouragement, I think are very important. And the second thing I just want to pick up on is you mentioned Yonah. I'd forgotten about Yonah. I wish I hadn't forgotten about it because I wanted to talk about Yonah in a shiur. Maybe we'll try and put it out for next year. Yonah is so important. Read the book of Yonah. Before tomorrow, you've got 1 day left. Go on Google and find various commentaries on Yonah and read it up. There is so much in Yonah. It is such an important story.
Actually, Johnny, and I don't mean to interrupt, but on Yonah is exactly the opposite problem we had. Yonah thought he knew what Hashem wanted. He was into the routine. He was into what a tzaddik is in his mind, in the Torah mind, and he missed the point. And it's actually so perfect for this year. It's where you can't be an uber chacham and uber tzaddik here. You have to do what is important, which is different than what we're used to, and that is Yonah. That is the story of Yonah. And this is
the story of Yonah was the story of a man who lives in a world of black and white. Yonah ben Amittai. His father's name was Amittai. The truth, Amet, and it's black and white. So he disagreed with God. He just wanted to run away from him. But the message of the story is that you need to be more flexible. You need to be chesed, not only emet. The tshuva comes not from the emet, but from the chesed. To be more flexible, to know what to do. how to react to different situations. This is the story of Yonah. That's why it's so important for us.
So the message from Techelet is use the opportunity. If you're outside shul, look around you. Look at the beautiful world that you have around you. If you're having to daven at home, so then use that time. You no rush. You can do it at your own pace. Choose the things that hit on you and concentrate on them. Spend all the time that you want on that individual prayer, whatever it is. Maybe it's Unatana Tokef, maybe it's Modim Anachnu Lach, maybe it's Moda Ani in the morning. Whatever it is that pushes your button to connect with Hashem, use that time. Use that time of your own. There's nothing else you can do on Yom Kippur. You can't go and make yourself a cup of tea. You can't go and watch the telly. Use that time. Connect and be inspired. Gemar Chatima Tova from us all.
Gemar Chatima Tova.
Gemar Chatima Tova.